Hello everybody, today we start with the next chapter in standard 10th bio, that is the reproductive system. Okay, the reproductive system is a very important chapter in the form that you got at least 10 marks of the question from section B of the paper related to this particular chapter. So the figure of the male and the female reproductive tract is very important. So that particular thing is so important that normally the one of the question based on that is definitely going to be asked of 5 marks from one side and the other part which will be there from the other part. So accordingly this is an important chapter, quite an easy chapter, nothing to be afraid of or worried about. And so let's start with the chapter, the reproductive system. Reproduction in general, reproduction in the form of reproduction is the formation of a new individuals by sexual or asexual means which can repeat the process in their own turn. So you can see two things which are very important in this definition. One thing is that reproduction is the formation of the new individual of the same kind, and secondly is that the kind which is being produced will be such that they can further reproduce. Okay, that is the important thing, which can repeat the process of their own. So only if the new formation is such that it can again form of the same kind, if it can do the further process, if it can also reproduce further, only then that kind of the formation of a new young ones is called as reproduction. If the young one so formed is not able to reproduce further, then we cannot call this process reproduction, because reproduction should be such that it is recurring process. It should be taking place year, generation after generation. So that is the main important part. So in case if somebody has made a hybrid of we know that thing we learned in the 9th standard, tigon, that is tiger and a lion, and then they hybrided it into form a tigon, which was completely different creature altogether, which was then it does not, they are all sterile, they are not having the capacity to reproduce further, and that's the reason that particular kind of organism which is born will not be called as reproduction. Okay, it is just hybridization but no reproduction, because they cannot further form the individuals of their own kind. So that's why the reproduction, the definition, the reproduction is the formation of a new individuals by sexual or asexual means. Okay, so whether it is by sexual means, that is whether there is the formation of the male and the female gamete, or it is asexual method wherein you don't have any gamete formation, but it is by binary fission or spore formation or fragmentation or regeneration, that if such a kind of a thing is there, then also it will be called as reproduction. Okay, which can repeat the process in their own. So this own term, which is the main definition of reproduction. Many simpler organisms like bacteria and yeast reproduce by fission or budding, etc. Many plants reproduce vegetatively, non-sexually, by various methods. But in humans, reproduction takes place only by sexual methods. So we very well know that many organisms are such that they will be reproducing by asexual method, that is they will be forming the reproduction, or taking the reproduction takes place in those organisms by binary fission or multiple fission or spore formation, or in case of plants we know it is by vegetative propagation or by modified stem, modified roots, or it could be even by the form of basically any asexual method. So that is but whereas in case of humans, the only possible method of reproduction is by sexual method. So humans cannot have any asexual method of reproduction. Now the patterns of reproduction, asexual reproduction, and so we are just comparing the two. What exactly do you mean by asexual and what exactly do you mean by sexual reproduction? Under this mode of reproduction, the reproductive units may consist of any portion of the parent body. The size of the unit can range from the whole of the parent or body to even just a small fragment of it. So you see that in our sexual reproduction, it is going to be either the whole body is going to be a part and parcel of the reproduction, or it could be only a small fragment of it which is going to be taking part in the reproduction part. So depending upon organism to organism, either it will be a part of it or a complete body of it which is going to take part in the process of reproduction. For example, the simple single cell organism amoeba reproduces asexually by fission. During this process, the whole of the parent cell splits into two daughter cells which then grow individually. So we very well studied the cell division. So similar to cell division is what is going to happen over here in case of amoeba. Amoeba is the one single cell organism. So that single cell is going to divide into two. The nucleus divides and the cytoplasm divides, and they are going to form into two separate identities or two separate amoeba. So that's why the amoeba is said to be reproducing asexually by binary fission. Just a minute. So amoeba is going to reproduce asexually by binary fission. During this process, the whole of the parent cell splits into two daughter cells when they grow individually, which then grow individually. In Hydra, a multicellular organism, reproduction takes place by means of small buds which grow out of the body of the Hydra, get separated and then grow into individual organisms. So in case of an Hydra, it is something like this, that if this is a Hydra over here, this is the Hydra. So this Hydra will have a small bud, like small Hydra ka baby coming out from the same thing, and this Hydra again splits into two, and this becomes a individual Hydra by itself. So this is called as budding. So a multicell, this is which grows out. So a small bud which grows out from the body of Hydra and separates out then grows into an individual organism. In sexual reproduction, most higher organisms including humans, reproduce sexually by the production of gametes. So what is important over here is in sexual reproduction, they are going to have gamete formation. So gamete formation is the main thing which is taking place in the sexual process. So there will be two kind of gametes, of course. That will be the male gamete and the female gamete. So the male gamete is normally called as the sperm, and the female gamete is called as the egg or the ova. Okay, so that is the male and the female gametes which are going to be present in case of sexual reproduction. So most higher organisms including humans reproduce sexually by the production of gametes. The gamete sex cells, sperm and egg, are very small, microscopic in human beings, and usually produced in male and female sexes respectively. So yeah, the males will be having the sperm cells and the female will be having the egg cells. Both of them very, very minute, tiny microscopic kind of gametes. The gametes must normally unite, fertilize to produce a zygote, which through a process of development finally becomes the offspring. So here the normal process will be such that this male gamete sperm and the egg are going to fuse together, and when they fuse together, the process of fusion of the male and the female gamete is called as fertilization, and this fertilization of the egg then produces the zygote. So the zygote which is going to then develop, and the developing zygote after the maturity becomes an offspring. The two sexes, male and female, often show outwardly differentiation features called secondary sexual characteristics. At least two features are apparent in a cartoonistic partial drawing of a man and a woman in a relaxed pose. So you will always find that apart from the male gamete and the female gamete being separate in the males and females, but also there is also some characteristics which are called as a secondary sexual characteristics of humans. So you can easily identify a male and a female from the body structure. It is normally very easy because the if you draw a cartoon, it will always be that the cartoon will be such represented that the male will always be shown with a broader shoulder and a smaller waist, whereas the female will always be shown as the curvy body with the curvatures over there. So that is a normal kind of a secondary sexual characteristics of human, that males will always be of that particular nature with a broader shoulder and an narrow waist, whereas the female will be having a curvature with a broad, means not so broad not so broad shoulders, but the waist will be small and then the hip part will be broader. So accordingly there will be the structure, so it will be called as the hourglass figure, which is normally seen in case of females. So that is about the secondary sexual characteristics. You can see that the hips are broader in females, and in males the hips are not so broad, whereas the lower arm projecting out from the elbow, that is when you lower arm projecting out from the elbow over here, lower arm is projecting out from the elbow, it will be definitely the female part. So that is how it is going to be there. And to think about the sexual distinction in certain animals, not required. So secondary sexual characteristics throughout the world, we can see that in humans the secondary sexual include distribution of hair on the body and face, that is beard and mustache in males, breast in case of females, muscularity, that is stronger build in males, skeletal structure, which will be different in both the cases, psyche and behavior, and deeper voice in male. So these are certain secondary sexual characteristics which are found in case of the difference between males and females. We can also have a differentiation between the asexual and sexual reproduction. So we have got, first thing, asexual reproduction, no gametes are formed, where sexual reproduction gametes are formed. Asexual may no mixing of genetic material, therefore no or less variation in offsprings. So because there is no mixing of the genetic material, in case of asexual method, one part is just dividing into two. So whatever is the genetic characteristic of the first will remain over there. There is no new thing coming up, no thing adding up. That's why asexual method will always not give you any kind of new variety or new genetic forms. Whereas in sexual reproduction, genetic mixing takes place, so increased variation. Asexual reproduction, normally more offsprings in asexual, whereas fewer offsprings in sexual reproduction. Asexual, only one parent is involved. Yeah, in asexual there is only one parent involved. Only one parent is dividing into two. So, or जो भी formation, spore formation, कुछ भी है तो उसमें एक parent ही, like Hydra, only one parent is required. You don't need two parents. Whereas in sexual reproduction, usually two parents, male and female, are involved. And in asexual reproduction, it is a rapid process during favorable conditions, whereas sexual reproduction, slower process. So normally in case of asexual method, it is just going to divide and it will be very rapid, and you can imagine the rapidity at which the bacteria are going to multiply, that one full container of milk, when you just add 1 teaspoon of or tablespoon of curd inside, and the whole milk gets converted into curd by just the multiplication of the bacteria. So you can imagine how fast is the multiplication in case of the asexual reproduction. Whereas the sexual reproduction, of course, the formation of the zygote takes place, and then it is a gestation period, and a long, like in humans we know it's 9 months that the baby can be delivered. So that's going to be a slower process in case of sexual reproduction. So this was in general about the sexual and asexual reproduction. Now let's see about reproduction in humans. The organs of the reproductive system are divided into primary and accessory parts. So when we talk about any kind of sexual reproductive, when we say about the reproductive system in case of humans, so we know very well that the gametes formation is one thing. The gametes are the first thing, they are the primary ones. But there are so many different other organs which are involved in this process. That's why we say that the parts, or we can say the reproductive parts in humans, are primary part and accessory part. They are divided into two parts, primary part and accessory part. The primary part or the reproductive parts include the gonads, that is the testes in males, and ovaries in females, which produce the sex cells or gametes, the sperm and the egg. So it is seen that the sperms are produced in the testes, and these are produced in the ovary, So that's why these testes and ovary are the main, or we can say the primary reproductive organs of the human body. Okay, so in males they are the testes, which are the primary reproductive organs, and in females it is the ovary, which is the primary one, because they are the one which produces the respective male and the female gametes, that is the sperm and the egg. The accessory reproductive parts include all those structures, ducts, glands which help in the transfer and the meeting of the two kinds of sex cells, leading to fertilization and in the growth and development of the egg up to the birth of the baby. So accessories क्या करेगा? Accessories are going to help these two meet. Okay, because we know that the zygote is going to be formed only when the male and the female gamete are going to fuse together and going to fertilize. Now the fusion cannot take place by its own because they are in two different bodies. One is there in the male part, other in the female part. So there will be certain kind of the glands, certain organs, certain things which will be required for in both the males and the females, so that they are helping these two to come together and fuse and form into a baby. So right from the pathway for its travel, or for the maturity, or for the baby to be growing in that particular area, everything, all those parts where all these process regarding the childbirth takes place can be said to be as accessory glands or accessory reproductive parts. So that's why they are given here. Those structures, ducts, glands, which help in the transfer and mating of the two kinds of sex cells, leading to the fertilization and in the growth and development of the egg up to the birth of baby. So all these are going to be as accessory glands, accessory reproductive parts. So according to the above criteria, would you consider secondary sexual parts as given in the box above as reproductive parts? No, these do not participate in reproduction. So when we are saying that the secondary sexual characteristics of broader shoulder, broader hip part, or the breast being greater, size being more, or mustache and the beard and all, so are they going to be anywhere involved in the reproduction of the reproductive system of the humans? No, they are only secondary sexual characteristics, just to identify the characteristics of a male and a female externally. Otherwise, they are nowhere connected to the reproductive organs, because neither the hair on the body, nor the breast in the female, nor the muscularity in the male, nor the skeletal structures, nor psycho behavior, nor the deeper voice, none of them are anyway connected to the reproductive system. That's why they are not at all part of reproductive system of the humans. So we now start with the first part of the chapter, that is the male reproductive system. So let's start with the male reproductive system. Okay. Now we're talking about the male reproductive system. The first thing what is coming up is, let's see the figure first so that we can identify it much easily. So what we have over here is the male reproductive system ka main part. You know that the main gland is the testes. So there are two testes which are here. The testes contains some tubular structures like this. So these tubular structures are the one which are going to produce the sperm. So they are the seminiferous tubules. So the seminiferous tubules which are there in the testes are going to produce the sperm, and that is going to be stored for some time for maturity in a part which is called as epididymis. So this over here is testes. These are the seminiferous tubules. This is the epididymis. Okay, it is the epididymis, D-I-D-Y. Okay, epididymis. And from the epididymis, it is seen that, okay, I just drawn it okay, fine, I'll just draw it this way. So from that is a duct which is starting from there and comes. So it is like just a duct coming from here and coming to this particular part. So there is the epididymis over here, which is connected to the sperm duct. So this is the sperm duct, also called as vas deferens. Okay, it's called as vas deferens. Okay, vas deferens. That is the sperm duct. The sperm duct is going to connect over here to the end of the urinary bladder. So this is the urinary bladder. So urinary bladder को connect करते हुए it is going to be there. So this is the part which is the urinary bladder. It's connect to the urinary bladder over here. Okay, where it connects at that particular point there is a gland. So a big gland which is over here. So this gland over here is called as seminal vesicle. Okay, and then further it is connected to the urethra. So this urethra के साथ में यहाँ पे दो और lobe structures are there, which is called as the prostate gland, and then there are two more small ones which are the bulbourethral gland, and then is the urethra. So this urethra is the one which is going to give the output. Okay, so the urethra is the one through which the urine as well as the sperm both are going to be given out from the body, and this one is going to be covered in a muscular structure. This muscular structure is the penis. Okay, and further this all this testes, the whole testes are being placed in a sac-like structure called as scrotal sac. Okay, so the scrotum or the scrotum or the scrotal sac is what you are having over here. So this is the general figure of the male reproductive organ. So let's see one by one, and then I'll explain you also what are the different things out here. So first thing is the male reproductive system consists of the following organs: testes, one pair to produce there's one pair, so that is 1 and 2. So two testes, one pair of testes, which are going to produce the sperm. So the sperm are produced inside the testes. The sperm duct or vas deferens form each testes to carry the sperm. So these are the vas deferens, which is the sperm duct, which will carry the sperm which are produced in the testes up to the urethra. Accessory glands में there are 3 accessory glands. The accessory glands are going to help in the you can adding up some more lubricants and some kind of a fluid to the sperm so that they can be more mobile. Okay, their mobility can increase. So seminal vesicle, prostate, and the bulbourethral gland to contribute to the seminal fluid. Okay, the seminal fluid, that is semen, which is nothing but the sperm in a form of a fluid. So that is called as semen, which is the fluid which is generated by these 3, 1, 2 and 3 are called as the seminal fluids. And a penis for transferring the sperm into the female vagina. So this is the penis which is going to be transferring the sperm from the male to the female. So there is an insertion of this penis into the female vagina so that it can ejaculate the sperm into the female body. And then the urethra contained inside the penis conveys the sperm received from the sperm duct. So this urethra has got two functions, of course. The passage of the urine is also the urethra, and also the sperm will be given out. The ejaculation of the sperm from the penis is going to be done through the urethra. So these are the main organs which are present in the male reproductive system. So now let's see these organs in detail. First thing is the testes. So singular is testes, IS, and plural is ES. Location. The two testes, properly called as testicles, are oval organs which are contained in a thin-walled sac of skin called scrotum or scrotal sacs. So this is a sac-like structure which is going to hold these testes outside the body, and that is called as the scrotum or the scrotal sac. In the embryonic stage, the testes are contained within the abdomen. They descend into the scrotum shortly before birth. An abnormal condition results when they do not descend, and it leads to sterility, incapability to produce sperms. Now when the baby is in the form of an embryonic stage, that is inside the baby in the mother's womb, at that time this particular testes are completely covered inside the body. They are within the abdomen. So they are within the abdomen over there. But just before birth, there will be a canal which is called as inguinal canal. This inguinal canal is going to increase in size, and accordingly this particular testes are going to start descend down from the body and going to be sagging outside the body a bit. If this doesn't take place, then it will be a sterility. That means the male will not be able to produce sperms. And this is because the sperms are always produced at a temperature 2 to 3 degrees less than the body temperature. So if the body temperature is 37 degrees, they will be produced at 35 degrees or so. And that's the reason that they are located in the scrotal sac, which is outside the body. Okay, outside the body, hanging outside the body. Okay, they are not directly connected to the body, they are just hanging down outside the body. So that's the reason that this particular, so if this is connected to the body, in that case the temperature being the same as the body temperature, that's why the sperm will not be able to generate, and hence the person will be sterile if the inguinal canal does not descend and the testes do not descend before birth. A slightly higher temperature inside the body does not permit maturation of the sperm, but in the normal condition, being in a separate sac suspended from the body, the testes escape too much body heat. So because they are going to be separated from the body, so that's why they are able to escape out the heat of the body very easily from there, and that's the reason they are able to have a temperature 2 to 3 degrees less than the body temperature, which is the ideal temperature for the growth or the multiplication of or the formation of sperms. So temperature regulation in the testes. Sperms are produced in the testes at a temperature 2 to 3 degrees lower than that of the body. This temperature is regulated in a strange manner through the movement of the scrotal walls. When it is too hot, the skin of the scrotal loosen so that the testes hang down away from the body. When it is too cold, the skin contracts in a folded manner and draws the testes closer to the body for warmth. So you can see the body, the scrotal sac is an elastic kind of a bag which can easily stretch itself upwards or stretch itself downwards depending upon the temperature of the body. If the temperature of the body, if the temperature outside is very cold, then it will need warmth. That's why it will automatically shrink and it will be very close to the body. If the temperature is hot, then it is going to require more cool air. So for coolness, it is going to hang down of the body. So that is how the scrotal sac will maintain a temperature which will be suitable for the testes to generate the sperms. Structure of the testes. Each testis is encased in a capsule which is internally partitioned into 15 to 20 lobules, that is segments. Each lobule contains seminiferous tubules, that is seminal is sperm, ferrous is bearing. So sperm bearing tubules, where the sperms are produced, the process is called as spermatogenesis. Okay, so the process is called as spermatogenesis. So the production of sperms takes place within this particular testes, which has got around 15 to 20 such lobules. So there will be 15 to 20 such lobules, which will be containing the wherein the sperm generation is going to take place, which is called as spermatogenesis. The second part of the thing is interstitial cells, that is interstitial, that is filling in between, which is packing tissue between the coils of the seminiferous tubule. So the interstitial cells are over here. These are the interstitial So the interstitial cells are within the coils, between the coils of the seminiferous tubules. The interstitial cells, also called as Leydig cells, okay, it is called as Leydig cells, produce the male hormone testosterone. Now testosterone, which is, अगर हम लोग endocrine system के साथ में connect करें तो sex corticoids जब generate होता है तो it is informing the Leydig cells to produce the testosterone. So the testosterone is going to be produced by the testes on the information received from the sex corticoids. Okay. So the interstitial cells are also called as Leydig cells, produce the male hormone testosterone. So that is the part, and the sperm producing cells of the seminiferous tubules keep multiplying and produce sperms. The mature sperm pass into a small network of tubules from the network of tubules. So this is going to pass through a network of tubules over here. The mature sperm pass into the small network of tubules. From the network arises 12 to 14 ducts, efferent ducts, which join a small tubular knot, the epididymis. So once it is produced, so there is a continuous multiplication of the cells taking place over here. There will be, if we correct it ourselves, so there will be meiotic division taking place over here. So mitosis के बदले meiosis हो गया यहाँ पे, और meiosis से there will be the gamete cells which are going to be produced continuously, the sperm cells. They are going to be moving through a network of tubules, and when they move on to a network of tubules, and then they are going to go further into a complete kind of a knot-like structure, small tubular knot-like structure, which is called as the epididymis, which is fitting as a cap on the upper pole of the testes. So on the upper pole of the testes ke upar, this is the cap-like structure which is called as the epididymis, and the epididymis is continued by the side of the testes up to its back, from where a distinct tube, that is a sperm duct or vas deferens, arises. So this is going to continue over here to a small to a backside over here. So from there it is going to the backside of the ear, and from there arises the sperm duct or the vas deferens, which is going to pass the sperm which are produced in the testes to the urethra. The epididymis internally contains a single coil tube, actually about 6 meters long. So you can imagine how condensed is the epididymis. The epididymis is a coil which is almost 6 meters long. It's a very, very long kind of a tubule. So main reason for it to be so long is that it is for storage of the sperm, wherein they are going to be there for some time for maturation. So that is the main thing. So the epididymis internally contain a single coil tube, actually about 6 meters long, which traverses from the upper part of the testes to its back, and then it continues into the sperm duct. The epididymis stores the sperm for some days, during which they mature and become motile, capable of moving. So It is only when they are motile, they are capable of moving, that they are able to move away. Okay? Otherwise, they cannot be sent over here. So accordingly, it is seen that whatever sperm. So over here we can see the formation of the sperm. कैसे होगा? तो यहाँ पे in the testes there are the seminiferous tubules which are going to undergo multiplication of cells, that is by spermatogenesis. And then they are going to travel into the tubules over here, which are very long tubules, and then from there it goes into a knot of tubules which is almost 6 meter long, which is nothing but the epididymis. From the epididymis it travels into the sperm duct. In the epididymis it is going to be there for some few days, wherein the sperm is going to mature so that they can be motile, because otherwise the sperm do not have any locomotion possible. So that's why for it to mature so that they can move inside a fluid, that particular time it is taking for being inside the epididymis and stored over there. The next is the sperm duct. So now what we're having is the sperm duct. I just continue this video till complete the male part, so there is no break in between. So even if the time is done, I'll just continue with this for 5-10 minutes again, so that I can it will be more clearer and not a break over there. Okay, so the sperm duct or the vas deferens from each testis travel upwards into the abdomen, passing through an inguinal canal. The inguinal canal originally is the one which allows the descent of the testes along with the ducts, blood vessels, nerves, etc. So we discussed that thing, that when the baby is just about to be born, at that time the inguinal canal is going to extend and the descending of the testes is going to take place in the baby. So that's the inguinal canal which is there in the in the sperm duct. So the sperm duct from each testis travel upwards in the abdomen, passing through an inguinal canal. So this particular thing will be in a canal which will be called as a inguinal canal. Sometimes due to pressure in the abdomen, the intestine bulges into scrotum through the inguinal canal and causes the common type of hernia. So there are many types of hernia. One of the hernia which could be caused could be of this particular kind, wherein the intestine bulges out from the scrotum. So if the intestine अगर यहाँ से आता है तो अलग type का hernia, यहाँ पे से अगर बाहर आता है तो it is a different kind of hernia. The two sperm ducts loop over the ureters of either side, come together and join the median duct or urethra at the back of the urinary bladder. So the two sperm ducts are going to come and they are going to be joined from the back side of the urinary bladder. So on either side, दोनों side से आके urinary bladder के back side से they are going to enter into the urethra, which is also the pathway for the urine. Now we talk about the accessory glands. There are three main accessory glands as follows. First is seminal vesicle. So the first is seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle is the first organ which is going to be the one which is going to be coming in contact with the sperm. So the pair of lobulated glands located between the posterior surface of the urinary bladder and the rectum. So before the posterior part, the backside of the urinary bladder and the rectum के बीच में is this seminal vesicle. The duct from each seminal vesicle joins the corresponding sperm duct just before it unites with the urethra. So when the sperm duct is just about to unite with the urethra, this particular seminal vesicle का duct जो है वो आके उसके साथ connect होगा, so that they can add the fluid which is generated by the seminal vesicle into the semen. So formation of semen produces a secretion which serves as a medium for transportation of the sperm duct. So the main purpose of the seminal vesicle is to produce a secretion. And this secretion, what is the use of secretion? This secretion is the one which is going to allow the mobility or the movement of the sperm, because they are going to make it mobile, because it's a fluid which is added to the sperm so that they can swim through it. So the medium for transportation is provided by the seminal vesicle. The mixture of this fluid and the sperms produces a milky fluid, the semen. In the sperm duct, the sperms are sluggish, but by the addition of the secretion, they become active. So in the sperm duct right now, they are very sluggish. Why? Because there is no kind of a medium through which they can travel. So whatever is the travel of the sperm which is taking place is by the pushing force of one another. So they are very sluggish. The movement is very, very limited. But as when this seminal vesicle allows, gives in that particular mobility to it, so that they can move around more swiftly. So they give activity or become active. The sperm become active as they come in contact with the semen formation by the seminal vesicle. Prostate gland, a bilobe structure which surrounds the urethra close to its origin from the bladder. So it is a bilobe structure which is very close to the origin. So over here it is just near the urethra, is surrounding the urethra is the bilobe structure which is going to be also like this. ये urethra बीच में से और ये यहाँ पे है से bilobe structure. So it pours alkaline secretion into the semen and it passes through the urethra to it neutralize acid in female's vagina. Now the female's vagina produce a secretion which is acidic in nature. Hence the female vaginal secretions or female vagina is acidic in nature. If this acidic nature is there, it will not allow the sperm to survive in the acidic region. That's why the prostate gland produces a secretion which is alkaline in nature, and we know very well alkali plus acid will give you salt plus water. So accordingly there will be neutralization reaction taking place inside the vagina, so that the acidity of the vaginal fluids is automatically neutralized, and the sperm which are entering into the vaginal area are not going to get killed due to the acidic part of it. So that is how the the chemistry is used in our body. The third one, so the function of the prostate gland is to produce a secretion which is added to the semen, which is going to give it an alkaline kind of a nature. So alkaline secretion is by the prostate gland, so as to neutralize the acidity of the female secretions. The third one is bulbourethral gland, also called as Cooper's gland. So Cooper's gland and bulbourethral gland is one and the same. So bulbourethral gland, these are two small ovoidal glands which open into the urethra just before it enters the penis. So before the thing enters into the penis, these are very, very small bulbourethral glands which are going to be there just by the side of the urethra. The secretion serves as a lubricant. So the secretion which is going to be there given into the semen will be as a lubricant. So it is a lubricant because it needs to have a free flow or a smooth flow inside the vagina. So that's why it is going to be having a lubricating effect. So the fourth part, that is the accessory gland is not in the accessory, the fourth part of the thing is the penis. The penis lies in the front of the scrotum, cylindrical in shape, serves for the serves for the passing out of both semen and urine. So in case of male, the path through which the urine is discarded from the body, that is micturition, and the sperm ejaculated from the body is both the same, that is the urethra, which is covered inside a muscular structure which is called as the penis. It is highly vascular organ having erectile tissues and vascular spaces. So the main thing over here is in this side, inside this particular thing, there are too many vascular bundles and there are too many vacuole spaces. Okay, they are vascular bundles, so that there will be good amount of blood which can flow through, and at the same time there are also going to be gaps. Okay, there will be vascular spaces. So these vascular spaces are important. We'll just see that thing. Under the influence of sexual stimulation, blood flows in large amount in the penis and enters into the vascular spaces or sinuses. So whenever there is a sexual stimulation, so whenever the male gets excited towards sex or they are excited towards the opposite sex, at that time there will be a huge amount of flow of blood into these vascular spaces. Now these vascular spaces, because they are empty, they are having a sinuses, they are empty spaces, so blood will force inside these areas, and due to the force inside, because they are small bundles, they are vascular bundles. जैसे क्या हो जाएगा, वो एक बार अंदर जाने के बाद में उनको बाहर मिलने के लिए नहीं मिलेगा. They are going to just fill in the whole spaces and thus giving the position of erection. Okay, we can say that it is the erection position of the penis. So under the influence of sexual stimulation, blood flows in large amount into the penis and enters into the vascular spaces of sinuses, which make it rigid and erect. Expansion of these spaces compresses the veins and thus blood cannot drain out. So that's the main thing. So here, because of the expansion, ये आजू बाजू में इतना सा expansion हुआ है that the veins जो blood उसको लेके जा रहे थे वो वापस लेके जाने के लिए possible नहीं होते. They are very much squeezed in. So they are not allowing the blood to flow back from the penis. So and hence the penis becomes rigid and erect. Expansion of the spaces compresses the veins and thus blood cannot drain out. Such condition of the penis is called as erection. So that is how it erection. And once the ejaculation from this particular thing, that the ejaculation of the sperm takes place, there is now a parasympathetic condition. Accordingly, there will be the testosterone यहाँ से produce होना बंद हो जाएगा. So यहाँ से blood flow कम हो जाएगा and automatically it relaxes and the penis comes back to normal shape and size. So this is how the sexual excitement of a male organ penis takes place. So you can see what is a semen. A semen is a mixture of sperms. So a semen, which is a mixture, the semen which is given out as ejaculation from the penis will be a mixture of the sperm with the fluid from the seminal vesicle, alkaline secretion from the prostate gland, and the lubricant from the bulbourethral gland. So that's why semen is a mixture of sperms and secretion from seminal vesicle, prostate gland, corpus gland, that is nothing but bulbourethral gland, and urethral glands. It is milky fluid. It has an average of about 2 to 3 ml in a single ejaculation and contain 200 million to 400 million sperm. So we can see there are a huge amount of sperm present in just 2 to 3 ml of the ejaculation of one single ejaculation by a male organ. So that is how the male organ or male reproductive system functions. So we see the course of the sperm is seminiferous tubules, so producing the sperm. From there it goes to the network of tubules, then the efferent duct, from the efferent duct to the epididymis. So from the lower part of the epididymis to the middle part and then the hind part. So it is seen that the maturity of the sperm is going to take place in the epididymis, wherein the lower part may there will be the production of the head of the sperm. See, so sperm is only the nucleus. Okay, the sperm is only the nucleus. The complete body of the sperm is going to be generated inside the epididymis. So what happens is, in the lower part of the epididymis, there will be the formation of the head. In the middle part, there will be the body part, and the hind part will be the tail part of the sperm coming up. So that is the sorry. Okay. Sperm, what is generated is the complete sperm is generated over. It's only that the movement is from ear to ear, that is the head part, then the body part, and the tail part or the hind part of the epididymis. Then it goes to the vas deferens, and from there it goes to the urethra. So this is how the sperm is going to travel right from the seminiferous tubules to the urethra. So this was about the male part. In the next video, we'll take up the female part.